So again, hello everyone. Welcome to this new series where we are going to learn how you can build AI agents on Vertex AI with some Google Cloud and Google technologies. So before to start, let me set the scenario. So as probably you are experiencing, like building AI agents, it's incredibly powerful, but building them, like, it can also be complex. So developers, as you need to navigate to a fragmented landscape, so models, tools, framework, and dealing with no trivial integration between those components. And even if when you are able to integrate different tools, different frameworks, like you need to implement, you need to take care of all the operation and the governance in order to scale those agents that probably you're building on your local environment to production in a way that they can be accessible to other people. So to address these challenges, like one thing that you can do is putting together like a cohesive stack. So you can take a standardized toolkit to accelerate the development of the agents, as well as adopting open protocols for the seamless integration between them, and getting access or building your own managed platform in order to handle all the operational heavy lifting of running agents to production. So at Google, we are building a comprehensive and open standard-based agentic stack. So today we are going to focus on just one of the fundamental pieces, which is Agent Development Kit, or ADK in short. But over the next session, we are going to explore all the other layers of this stack. So we will talk about MCP for standardizing context delivery. We will talk about Vertex AI Agent Engine to productionalize your agent. And finally, we will cover a agent-to-agent protocol to enable, an agent-to-agent collaboration. So Bill already introduced me, but I'm happy to do it again. I'm Ivan Nardini. I'm a developer advocate at Google Cloud. So my job every day is essentially using the same tool that we are going to show you today in order to build application like the agentic one. And today with me, I have Annie today. So Annie, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, I'm Annie. I'm developer advocate at Google, currently helping developers build with AI on Google Cloud. I'm so excited for today's session.
Cool. So as Bill said, today is just the beginning. So bear with us. We designed this 5-part journey to take you from the basics to building sophisticated and production-grade agent system. So we start with the foundation of ADK today, and then we're going to cover tool integration and evaluation, multi-agent system, and how to deploy them to production and put them in communication using Gateway. So without further ado, with Annie, we thought that the best thing to kickstart this session is with a demo that Annie built. So Annie, do you mind to share what you have built with ADK?
Sure. Can you see my screen? All right.
Yes.
So, yeah, can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah, so I built an AI local guide. It helps you to guide what are the food nearby and how to plan the trip. But yeah, let's start with selfie. Okay, it's a bad
Here's
selfie.
what I found. Here.
Okay, yeah. Okay, let's start with the local food guide agent. So I'm gonna ask agent to first plan a trip and then ask the find the food nearby. Okay, plan a trip to San Francisco. Innovate until AI capture
car. Day trip agent is responding.
Yeah, you can see the day trip agent is responding and is trying to plan a trip for me. Okay, so now I want to find a food nearby. Find food near me.
Bowl of noodles.
Okay.
Foodie agent is.
Okay, now the foodie agent is responding. And then what if I want to explore what's going on this weekend, because it's a long weekend in US. What's going on this weekend?
Calendar. Weekend guide agent is responding.
So you can see the weekend guide agent is responding. What if I want to find, because on the weekend, I want to try to find a sushi near me, and I'm asking agent what are sushi nearby and how to get there. I want to eat sushi in Sunnyvale. How to get there?
Okay,
Yeah.
let's figure out how to get you.
Yeah, so you can see that the agent is trying to find a sushi in Sunnyvale and trying to find the direction there. So what behind the scene in this demo, like in this application, is we have multiple agents, and each agent responding to different requests. And in today's collab, in today's lab, what we're gonna do is we're gonna build the agent behind the scene, the logic, how we're gonna go through how we're gonna build the brain behind the scene. And if you're curious about how to build this whole app, we're gonna explain that in the upcoming session. But yeah, that's it from the demo.
Yeah, so without further ado, let's get into the agenda. So in the rest of this session, we are going to cover how to build a single ADK agent. We're going to show you how to run an ADK agent, and then we will introduce some of the ADK concept that I personally think you need to know when you approach ADK. And then she will have the hands-on lab, and then we will wrap up the session. As we said at the beginning, this is a series where we want you to get your hands dirty. So be sure that you check the lab that Annie shared with you in order to set and get your GCP project and your Gemini API key, because we're going to use this in order to build and run the agents in this full series. Okay, with that being said, let's get started. So how to build an ADK agent. First of all, let me give you an introduction of ADK. So ADK, it's an open framework that not only has been designed to build agent, but most importantly, is been designed to evaluate and deploy agent. So the core idea of ADK is essentially allowing you to cover the entire agent lifecycle. So we want enable you to design your agent, build your agent in your own tool, and then from there, connecting all the dots, try to run and debug your agent locally, and evaluate also in a way that you can iterate until the agent improved and is pretty solid, and finally it can be deployed and it can go to production. So ADK covers this entire agent lifecycle and provides you all the components in order to implement it. So why you want to consider ADK then? So there are a few reasons. First of all, ADK has a very easy to use interface. The API has been designed to be intuitive and developer friendly. Secondly, it's modular and flexible. So for example, with ADK, if you have some tool from LangGraph or LangChain or CrewAI, you can integrate those tools with an ADK agent. So it's pretty flexible, and you can build the agent in a modular way, so it's easy to debug. Talking about debugging, ADK comes with a very nice web UI that will allow you to run and debug and trace your agent locally. So once you define your agent with the one line of command, ADK web, you will be able to start interacting with your agent and see how it behaves, and in case fixing things that doesn't work with it. The other important thing is that ADK is completely open, so you can use whatever model you want. But as you can imagine, we integrated ADK, we built ADK to be very well integrated with the Gemini ecosystem. That's why you can build from day zero agents that are multimodal agents, like the one that Annie shows to you. And finally, as I said, one of the features or the things that I really like of ADK, that it's pretty easy to deploy. We will show you in the coming session how, with a very few line of code, you can deploy your agent on an agent platform like Vertex AI. So when you start, in order to start, all you need to do is setting a project structure like the one that I showed you in this slide. So these are the few files that you need to put together in order to run an agent like the one Annie shared before. So you need an init file that essentially indicates that it's a Python package and that allows ADK engine to discover your agent. Then you have an environment file, which essentially contains all your environment variables, including the API key or the Google Cloud Project ID or the endpoint where you want to deploy the model, the agent. And then finally, you have the agent.py, which is the main file. It contains the logic of your agents, including prompt, model, tools, and all the components. With that structure, you are ready to keep iterating and build your agent. When we talk about building an agent, ADK provides several primary types to build an agent. So for complex use case, you have some pre-built workflow agent, which allows you to implement some pattern like like running task in parallel or in sequence. And you can also implement some custom logic agents. But for the session of today, we are going to use one of the main type that we provide with ADK, which is the LLM agent. And the LLM agent essentially is this component that handles reasoning, tool use, and interact with the LLMs and allows you to build your agent. How does LLM agent look like? Well, essentially it's a pre-built Python class where all you need to do is that defining a name, which is a sort of a unique ID of the agent, and then the model that you want to use. In this case, we are using one of the Gemini models. And then you provide also a description, which is a short summary of what the agent is capable of doing. And then the two important parameters that I want to highlight that are very important are the instruction and the tools. So the instruction, essentially, it defines the logic of the agent. So you can, within the instruction, you can explicitly say to the agent when and why it should use, for example, tools. And this is very important because it allows you to handle the outcomes from those tools. And also, especially when you build multi-agent system, the instruction is important because, I mean, it will allow you together with the description to understand when to use and how to use an agent in a more complex system. The second component that is very relevant of this class is tools. And I mean, in this session, we are not going to cover them in detail. We have a dedicated session for this. But the idea is that if you want to start from scratch, a tool with ADK is a simple Python function that has a very important component, which is the docstring. And the docstring is important because it defines, the parameters and the output that you expect, especially from the output of the tool. I really want to highlight that I would say that you can return only the result of the tool, but one of the best practices that we suggest is that you return a dictionary where you have the output of the tool and also, the status or the report or the error that the tool generates. So this will allow you to integrate this tool better with the framework. So this is all the concept that you need to know in order to build an agent right now. And in fact, let's jump into first demo so you can show how this agent looks like.
Yeah, so this is the very, very simple code that you check out with the step 3 for the pre-lab. Basically, you only need to create this agent with the name of the agent, the model you're using, and the system instruction, the prompt, like define what is the role for this agent. And also the tool. Here we have the built-in tool, Google Search. So basically, we're using the Google Search the nearby. So this is this is an agent to do the planning for the weekend. So you're using Google Search to find what's going on this weekend and then do the planning for you. So just with this simple line of code, you're able to see how the agent is working. Later on gonna show you how does it work in web ADK web.
Cool. So with just these few line of codes, like you can build your agent. So now let's assume that you build your agent, right? So how do you run an agent with ADK? So ADK provides 3 primary ways to run your agent, and you can use all of them depending on the use case or the scenario that you are. So the first one is ADK Web, which is this interactive web interface that, as I said at the beginning, will allow you to debug your agent. So once you spin up the ADK Web, you can start interacting with your agent, see the full trace. So it's kind of your best friend when you are prototyping. Then you have the CLI, and the CLI, it's a tool that will allow you to quickly test, single features that you just implemented with your agent. And finally, you can always run your agent using a programmatic approach. And this is very important when you want to integrate your agent in a more large application or when you want to, for running it into production. So these are the ways, but what happened behind the scene when you launch one of these 3 commands and the agent start processing your information. So I want to explain you the process because it will give you also a sense of the code that Annie will share later. So there are two aspects that I want to mention. So first of all, at the core of ADK, you have the runner. So the runner is the engine that makes the agent go. And it handled the entire life cycle of a conversation thread. So the user input to the agent to the LLM, and then the LLM to the tool. Then a tool call it happen. The tool return back an output to the agent, and finally the agent generate the response of the user. All this process is managed by the runner. But as you can imagine, this process is it's kind of a loop, right? Because it may require multiple iterations. So that's why you need to know also this concept of event loop. So how it works, it's pretty simple. So let's imagine that the user send a query. So what happened behind the scene when you start interacting with the ADK agent is that the runner receive it and ask the main agent to start processing the request. Then the agent logic runs till something change. So something to report happened. So it can be a tool call, it can be the final answer of the agent, but it doesn't return the value directly. What happened is that this output is yielded in an event, and the runner receives this event and process any associated action to the event itself. It can be, saving the agent state in one of the services before to forward the event to the user interface. And so this is what happened like with the event loop, but it doesn't stop here, because once so only after the runner has processed the event, then the agent logic resume, and from where it was paused, and the result of the actions that the runner just took are tracked, are registered in some sense. And this cycle, it repeats until the agent has no more event to yield for this particular query. And this is essentially, it describes you all the steps that happen behind the scene when you start interacting with an ADK agent. Now, as I said, this is important for two reasons. First reason is because you will see this in the code that Annie will show you. But more importantly, this system, as it has been described right now, provides you two main advantages. First of all, the state consistency, and second, it allows you to run your agent efficiently. And in particular, the state consistency is important because with this system, the runner ensures that any state changes are fully saved, and the agent see like the consistent and predictable view of what is happening around, like when the user interact with it. The other reason is that because ADK is a built to be asynchronous, and so having this process, it will allow the agent to be more responsive and truly scalable when you need to deploy to your application. Again, even if this flow seems complex, in the reality, like you can monitoring it first when you write the code, and secondly, and this is why again I'm so happy to have a tool like the web UI. You can monitor all these steps in the web UI. So you can check the event loop and visualize every step and see what is happening when you run. So in that sense, the agent that you build with ADK, they are not a black box. You can run them and see what is happening behind the scene. And just to give a sense of how powerful is the web UI, Annie, let's run the second demo.
Sure. So with the third step in the pre-lab, if you run it successfully with ADK web command, you will see this ADK web UI. And remember, the agent we're building is a planning agent. So I'm asking a question: plan a trip for me to Boston. I like to explore museum and good food. And let's see how the agent responds. You can see that agent is trying to, okay. You can see agents using Google search as a tool to search, oh, there's a Boston's food events and there's a museum events. Okay, it's planning the July 5th and 6th for me, but yeah, you can see that the point is it's trying to do the planning for me. And what's cool on the left-hand side is you can see the trace over here. With the call, if you can see how the agent is using and is calling using a different tool. And then over here, when the user ask questions about, oh, can you plan a trip to Boston? You can see that, oh, here's the planning for Boston. And below, you can see the grounding metadata that's trying to do the search to answer the user's question. You can see the requests requests over here with the plan a trip for me to Boston. And here are the response over here. And again, you can see the graph. Also on the left-hand side, the event, you can clicking into the event to see the detail of the event. And also you can see the response. You can also see the session over here, which are the conversation we had with the agent, which Ivan gonna cover really soon about what is a session in agent. Yeah, I'm gonna pass it back to you, Ivan.
Yeah. So as you see in the web UI, like you were capable of looking at the event and all the components of the event. So again, tracking the entire workflow of the interaction and what happened behind the scenes. So it's a very valuable tool in order to debug your agent. So the last thing that I want to cover, as I said at the beginning, there are some key ADK concepts that you need to know. We are not going to cover all of them today because we don't have enough time and we want to prioritize the lab, but some of them are very important and I think you need to know them. So when I describe the event loop and how the runner handle, the interaction with the agent, like I briefly mentioned the concept of service, but what are those services? So I will briefly touch some of the 3 key components that will allow you to make your agent contextual and personalized, and which are related to these services, and are the concept of session, state, and memory. So the session represent the current conversation thread that you are having with your agent, as Annie showed, and then in each session you have a state. And the state is it's like a dictionary, essentially, where you can store information that are relevant during a particular conversation. Like it can be the last city that the user asked about, or where Annie she wants to travel, as she showed you in the demo. And then you have the concept of memory, which is this long-term searchable knowledge base that you want to attach to your agent in a way that over conversation, the agent is capable of going back, searching for relevant information that can be used in order to make the experience, the interaction with the user, more personalized. So let's dive into these 3 main concepts quickly. So in terms of session, like the best idea, or if we want to do an analogy of the session, we can imagine that the session is the meeting that is happening right now. So we are here. So this is a session. It has a start time. We start at 9. It has an end time. We will end at 10. And it is running in a specific room, which is in this case is a virtual room on Meet. 2 components of this on this session are the events. So the events is the sequence of meeting minutes. So it's this sequence of records that cannot be changed, that it already happened, and then or it is happening. And the state is something that it will allow you, as I said, to store some of the key information during this session. So there are several types of session. Why? So because usually you don't modify the session by yourself. You don't create or manage session by yourself, but you use session service, which is a central manager responsible for the entire life cycle of the conversation. And ADK provide different services depending on, again, the scenario. You can have a simple in-memory session for when you start building your agent locally. You can have a database-backed one, or if you don't want to manage your database, you can also have a full managed experience on Vertex AI, which is one of the services that we provide for production-ready application. So these are the idea of how you can store those sessions. And in terms of code, like creating a session is pretty simple. This is an in-memory session services. So you initiate an in-memory sessions object, and then you create a session associated to it. And then Annie will show you how you can use this session to run your agent. The other component that I want to mention is inside the session, I mentioned that there is a state, right? And the state is kind of a virtual shared whiteboard attached to a specific meeting like this one, where everyone, they can, write new ideas or update the information. And in some sense, and give you an idea of the current status of the conversation. With the agent, you can use a state to track the progress of a task. Remember, for example, a user choice for a particular moment, or writing some data, accumulating some data. One niche thing that I want to mention is that you can use the state only with the serializable content. So it should be a sort of a JSON safe data. But how you can access the information that you write in the session state, or how you can write new information in the session state. Again, ADK makes this so very simple. In order to write information on the session state, you can use the output key associated to your agent class. And essentially, for example, you can use this output key to save the final response of the agent, and then the ADK handles all the rest. And we will see this in the lab, how you can leverage this key in order to to enhance the conversation with the agent. At the same time, in order to read the information from the state, you can use the concept of a context, and in this case, we are using a tool context. So imagine that you need this information to run a particular tool. You can read this using the tool context, as I showed you in this code. So to give an idea how these interactions work, imagine that you have the user that asks the weather about London. So the agent has a tool to get the weather of London. The tool runs, and then is saved, the last city checked, which is in this case in London, in the state, and then the agent responds, it's sunny in London. And now at the end of this interaction, you have that the state session it contains a key, which is the last city checked, with the London name inside. So this is give you an idea of the interaction, how it works behind the scene. With that being said, now you know the concept of session, you know the concept of state. But what happens when you have many sessions and you want to store them and making them searchable in order to customize the experience of your user over time with the agents? That's when you want to introduce the concept of memory. So the memory will allow you to search along all these past events, and you can essentially you do two operations with the memory. You ingest information in the memory. So in this case, the meetings, so the events, and you search, you retrieve information from the memory in a way that, for example, if you ask the agent, hey, what was that place that you suggest on the last weekend plan, it can retrieve this information from the memory. Again, also with respect to the memory, you don't have to, you can write your custom memory, and there are many examples to do that, but we provide some pre-built memory system. So, and again, it depends where you are in your journey to develop your agent. So you can you have an in-memory one, which essentially will implement some keyword search capability, or you have a semantic search capability with the Vertex AI RAG engine in-memory service, which it's a services that it's a managed services on Vertex AI that will allow you with few click and few line of codes to build a RAG system, and so in some sense the retrieval capabilities that are attached to the concept of memory. So these are the key concepts that I wanted to share with you. There are, as I said, there are so many that are worth to read in the documentation. Like I briefly touched the concept of context, but there are also concepts of callbacks, which are very cool because these are kind of custom functions that you can implement in front of the LLM, the tools, and the agent itself in order to control or modify the input and the output of the agent, and as well as Artifact, which is this system to manage version binary data, like files or images of PDF when you build a multi-agent, multimodal system. Okay. Now it's enough for theory. It's time for coding. So I pass back to Annie for running the lab altogether.
Yeah, I'm gonna share my screen to walk through the lab. So before we start, making sure, can you see my screen? Yeah. Yep. So this is the AI lamp. I put the link there. I'm gonna go through the setup together. Just click any building account, and then you're gonna go to this page, making sure you're using a Gmail account. If you're using a different account, if you're using a different account, you're probably not able to redeem your free credit over here. I'm gonna quickly go over the step. Oh, by the way, if you wanna learning ahead, I'm gonna show you the. Oh, Ivan, what is the lab? I think this is a link for Colab. Yeah, if you wanna like try it yourself, for the Colab, right now I share the Colab link to the chat while I'm going through this billing account setup. If you wanna learn it ahead of time, yeah. All right. So now I redeem this billing account, and then you can see that from here with a credit, you can see you have a $5 free credit for your project, and I'm gonna create a new project over here by like AI Camp project. You're creating a new project. So it's creating this new project. I'm gonna selecting this project. Oh, okay. And then go to my, wait. Oh, okay, I guess this is a new account. So, okay, I'm gonna go to my project, selecting this AI Camp, and then on the left-hand side, I'm go to the billing. Yeah, I think it's linked to my billing. Okay. Yeah, and now I think I should be able to connect. Okay, let me double check my project. Let me double check whether it's connecting it to the billing. Yes, I think so. All right. And then the second step is set up your API key. You go to the AI Camp. Oh no, like AI Studio. Yeah, this is a new profile. Have some, yeah, creating a API key over here and selecting AI Camp and creating the API key in a new project. So I'm gonna save this API key. You're gonna use this API key for your lab. I'm gonna save it. All right. Now let's go to this exciting lab. Can everyone open this? Can you give me a sum up or yeah, great. So for this collab, we have 3 parts. The first part is a simple agent. You're gonna build a day trip simple agent with a runner. And the second part is you're gonna play around with the memory. Remember, Ivan talked about memory with session. You're actually gonna play around to see how session impact agent. And then the last part is a multi-agent system. This is a very simple agent, a multi-agent system. We're not gonna cover more complicated like A2A or workflow agent. It's just a simple agent for you to get just to play around. And this multi-agent system is the brain we talk about for the demo at the beginning. Like how, like the beginning, we have the demo about you can find a food nearby and it can plan a trip for you. So yeah, let's get into it. So start from couple cats. I hope you resonate with your moon right now. First, let's set up and install the dependency. So while we're waiting for it, I'm gonna walk you through the first agent we're gonna build. The first agent is a day trip agent. We're using the model is a Gemini 1.5 Flash. The tool is Google Search because ADK has built-in Google Search tool, and the capability is aware of budget, mood, and real-time information and to do the planning. So real-time information, it is using Google Search to get the real-time information. So if you send a query to the agent, it's able to generate this day trip for you. All right, so we install everything. Let's run this API thing. So remember, we have this API key generated before. So let's just simply put it over here and type it. So you have the API key set up. Is everyone get API key set up? If you have problem, you can type in the chat. I think Ivan maybe can help answer your question. Please monitor the chat.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, thank you. All right, the first agent. You can see it's really simple. It just with the agent, you have the name, the model, the instruction, the tool, and then now you're creating this agent. It is created, and now let's run this agent. Remember, Ivan mentioned there are different ways of run it. We already demoed you the first way, which is using ADK Web. With ADK Web, it has a session and everything provided for you. But if you want to run it programmatically, you have to have a runner. to orchestrate everything, which also I think even previously mentioned that we have the runner, you put the agent, you put the session service, basically handle the memory for it. So the runner power up your agent and can run your agent. And also do remember the diagram event showed you previously with the event loop. Here is a magic over here. And this is what happened behind the scene. We have this event, this is an event loop. That agent, like the runner, is communicating with user ID and session ID. And the session ID is like the conversation thread we have. Later I'm gonna show you how important it is to have session ID. Yeah, basically this is a helper function to help you run our agent. Let's run it and let's test our day trip. So the question is, we're asking, okay, plan a relaxing day trip near Sunnyvale for me and making sure it's affordable. Okay, it has a arrow coming up. Let me see. I guess we have some API issue. Okay, let me try to run this again, and I'm gonna put a different API key. Maybe I didn't set up the account successfully, so I'm gonna run this API key again. And let's see if it works this time. All right. Okay. So looks like it is working. Great. If you run into a similar error, it probably means that you're not setting up your building account correctly. So I have a backup API key, just making sure you check your building account setup. Yeah. So you can see the agent get a response. It's planning a relaxing RC day trip near Sunnyvale, and this is the detailed planning. Is everyone? Oh, okay. I think people was asking the collab link. I'm gonna share this in the lab in the chat again. So those people, I think Sherry. Oh, okay. Yeah. If you have problem finding the link, I put a link to the Google chat. If you have any question, just ask in the chat. Okay. Oh, and the second part is let's play around the agent with the memory. So this is also a day trip agent, but what's different is it's gonna plan multiple day for you, and for the second day and third day, you're gonna reference what's happening previously. So explicitly with the capacity over here, we have the memory of past conversation and preference. So when you try to plan the day for the second day or third day, you will check the previous conversation so that it can better planning for you. I just want to mention that usually the agent, they all can have the access to the previous conversation if they're in the same session. However, I explicitly mention in the system prompt here so that we can have a more accurate result. So here, explicitly in the instruction, I mentioned that you have a short-term memory. You can refer back to the conversation so that agent can check the previous conversation and do the planning for me. I'm gonna run this to creating this multi-day day trip agent, and then I'm gonna try this with memory. So we have 3 turns in this conversation. The first thing is I'm asking agent, I want to plan a 2-day trip to Lisbon. And then agent probably planning something for me. And then the second query is, I'm not a huge fan of Castle. Can you replace the morning activity? So I want to revise the plan for day 1. In order to achieve this, agent has to know what is the result from previous turn. So it has to access a short-term memory. And the third turn is, I'm asking, oh, the day 1 is perfect. Let's plan day 2. In order to plan day 2, agent also need to know where user want to go and what's the user preference. So you also need to access the conversation history to better answer user question. So let's see. So with the turn 1, hey, I want to plan a 2-day trip. And then the agent is able to planning this day trip for them. And then once the user asking, oh, that sounds pretty cool, and replace the morning. Can you update the morning plan? So you can see like agent is able to retrieve the previous planning and revise it, so you have an updated planning. And then the certain is, okay, the day 1 is perfect. Let's plan day 2. So it's able to plan day 2, like with Lisbon, because agent know that from the previous conversation that user want to go to Lisbon. So you can continue plan the day 2. The magic behind the scene is they're using the same session. Because they're using the same session, so they're in the same conversation thread, and so they can automatically. So that's why, the latest conversation can fetch the previous chat history. What if they're in a different session? So in this example, we are asking the same agent, like plan a 2-day trip, like the plan a day 1 and day 2, but we're creating a separate session. So if we run this with a separate session, you can see that okay, resource exhausted. Okay, I guess is it because my API key resourced? Okay, great. Final response. Okay, the quota resource. Interesting. Let me try.
Yeah, no. Okay, it's a temporary error.
It's temporary error. Okay, let's run again and see. Okay, let's ignore this for now and like check the day 2. But the point is, what we wanna say is we wanna plan the day 2. In order to do this effectively, they need a little bit more information from previous conversation, because they're in a different session. So the day 2, they don't know where the users coming and what is the day 1 plan. So it cannot better plan the day 2. So the point is, the session really matters. In this case, we have the in-memory session. If you want to make an agent be able to access different session, you can try using Vortex AI session service or DB, so that you can store all the session in the long-term memory. And then if you ask, plan day 2 or plan day 3, you can access different session in the DB or in Vortex AI, so that you can better planning for you. But in this lab, we only demo your in-memory session so that it cannot access different session. But we're not gonna cover Vortex AI session service or DB session service in this demo. Just briefly mention that. And now let's go to the very exciting part, the multi-agent. We're gonna briefly talk about the sequential agent in this system. So remember the demo at the very beginning, I'm asking my AI local guide, hey, what is the food nearby? Can you plan my day, plan my weekend? And I have a sushi in Sunnyvale, how to get there, right? So this is what is the magic behind the scene. We have a router agent, so that we can classify the request based on the user input. You're gonna decide which router I'm gonna choose. Am I gonna choose to plan the day or plan the weekend, or just find a food nearby? So, and as you can see from the this link, with if you ask agent, okay, I wanna eat sushi in Sunnyvale, how to get there? You will first use foodie agent to find a sushi nearby, and then once it recommends a sushi, and then you will using another agent, transportation agent, to find the direction from your location to Sunnyvale's sushi place. So let's see how it works in the code. So here we define multiple agent. Over here we define the foodie agent, weekend agent, transportation agent. Those are the agents that you're probably already very familiar with, right? Because we already creating multiple agent in this notebook. And in the router agent here, you classify the user's request. So based on the user's request, you classify them to 4 different options. It can be the foodie, weekend, day trip, and find and navigate combo. So to find and navigate combo, this is where the sequential agent coming in. So for the find and navigate combo, you will first find the food, and then you will navigate there. All right. So this is this is how the. So we're creating all the foodie agent, weekend agent, and transportation router agent, and now we try to run them. So to run them, I really want to show you this find and navigate combo over here. So you can see that with this combo, first we're creating this foodie session, and we run the foodie agent. So we run the foodie agent firstly to find the sushi or the restaurant nearby. And then once we find a sushi or like find a restaurant, let's run the a transportation agent to find a direction over there. So you get this combo workflow. So now you just simply put them in this logic, but there is something called workflow agent in ADK that you can simply creating a sequential agent with workflow agent ADK, which we're gonna talk about in upcoming session. We're gonna talk about the sequential agent, parallel agent, loop agent, and also complicated A2A in the future session. But this lab is just show you like the basic agent and how agent works. So let's see the result over here. You can see, oh, okay, find the best sushi in Palo Alto and tell me how to get there from Caltrain. And so it gives me the result. Oh, there's a Palo Alto sushi restaurant, and potentially how you're getting there. You can work in there. You can take the public transportation over there. And you can play around with different query by replacing the code over here. So the first query over here is I want to eat best sushi in Palo Alto. You're gonna use foodie agent to give you some recommendation. The second one is cool outdoor concerts, and then give you some weekend suggestion. Yeah, so you can play around with it, and congratulations, you finished the lab. Any questions? I'm gonna check the question. How will the agent communicate with each other? This is a very simple design. We just have a router. So like in the router agent, you're gonna classify what agent to choose. And once it chooses the different agent, it simply just use that agent. But we're gonna cover how agent communicate with each other in upcoming session with more complex agent design. This is just for you to get started and get a taste of what is ADK and how ADK work, like how multiple agents work together. Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Cool. So let's go back and let's wrap up this session. So let me share my screen again. Okay. So as Annie said, today was just an introduction. In this series, I mean, we are gonna try to address all the challenges that I mentioned at the beginning by giving you an idea of how to use tool protocols and agent platform that we, as a Google Cloud, we provide with this agentic stack. So today we talk about Agent Development Kit. In the next session, we're gonna talk about how Agent Development Kit is integrated with MCP and Vertex AI Agent Engine and the A2A. And in particular, like the next session is going to be about tool integration and evaluation. So right now, like Annie showed you how you can use a pre-built tool, which is Google Search, but I see a lot of questions like about how I can use my own tool, I can use, there are ways to integrate other tools. So this is something that we are going to cover in the next session. Plus, right now we just run the agent and we evaluate it based on the quality of the response. But what we want to do, we want to give you a tool that will allow you to evaluate properly the agent. So calculating some metrics that tell you how the agent is good in using a particular tool or generating a response. So this is what we are going to cover in the next one. But now it's time for the scanner alert. So please get your phone, and because we're going to share cool stuff. So first thing that I want to share is for people that were asking how to get started, this is the documentation. I share some links in the chat, but here you can find the ADK documentation. We are keep the documentation updated, so feel free to go there. Also, start exploring the coming topics that we are going to cover. 3, 2, 1, and then what we showed you today is a very simple as sample, but we already built a bunch of agents that you want to check in order to understand how to build an agent that is more production ready. So feel free to check out the agent samples repo that you can find here. And if after the documentation and after checking the code you still have a question, feel free to reach out either me. So again, I'm Ivan, happy to support you with your questions about ADK and how to use the agentic stack, as well as feel free to reach out any that she will provide you answer to some questions, to some of your questions as well. So with that being said, I think we are in perfect time. So thank you again for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the session, and yeah, looking forward to the coming episode of this series and interacting with you. So have a good rest of the day.
Thank you, everyone. Hope you learn, have fun learning.
Have a great day.
Great. Thanks so much. Thanks a lot for Annie and Ivan for the great presentation and code walking through. I think to wrap up, we have, let me quickly share a few, yeah, just a few logistic reminder. So make sure you all join the Discord, and we're going to have more Q&As or some of questions after events. We can help you out over there with the code labs. Some of the steps with setting up the account, get the credit, so on and so forth. And also the session is recorded. It's going to be available on the YouTube shortly. I will send the emails to you, all of you, and also the links to all of the resources that we have. And the last but not least, we welcome you to provide the survey to give us a feedback. So we please take probably less than 1 minute to give the feedback, scan the QR code, and share us your suggestions, feedbacks for the future sessions and some content that you want to learn. We will work here on the future sessions.